Here's the door. Here's the doorknob. Here's my hand. Here's the outside, which is not so bright. There's the garbage cans. There's the sidewalk. There's the walkway. There's the bush. There's the cooler. Here's the door again, closing. Here's the lamp. Here's the table. Here's the treat jar for the cat. Here's the cookie jar that has nothing in it. Here's the antenna. Here's the radio switches and stuff. Here's the clay strawberry shortcake that my little sister made. Here's the other lamp. Here's some random stuff. Here's my brother in picture form. Here's the full radio set. Here's a chair. Here's a bag. Here's some vitamins and pills. Here's some toothpicks. Here's clay. I didn't say clay. I meant to say styrofoam. Soak-proof, everyday trays. I couldn't even think of the name. Thank you, trays. Here's the table. Here's J.H. Breakout and Company catalog. Here's a crappy scientific calculator. Here's a empty crushed can of knockoff root beer. Here's another diet ginger ale. Here is a light. Here is the outside. Here is a table with different various foods on it. Here is the chair, and I've done the chair. Here's the chair, here's the chair, here's the chair, here's the chair. Here's the kitchen, here's the oven, here's the frying pan, here's the clock, which has the time 12:43 on it currently. Here's another clock, which I don't understand why these two are here when you could have just one. But here's the coffee maker, here's the dish pan, here's the dirty dishes, here's the dirty dishes, here's the clean dishes, and the other dish pan. Here is soap, here is the sink with the faucet, here is fruit flies, as you can see flying around. Here is the, I can't think of the name right now. Sponge, there we go. Here's a sponge. Here's a picture from the 70s of my mother and father. Here is a glass. My father uses for, actually my mother uses for wine. Here's a glass my father uses for wine. Here is bananas. Here is cherry tomatoes, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, grape tomatoes. Here is the ripe bananas. Here is an empty CD case, but I have no reason why this is here. Here is tin foil. Here is water. Here is more water in a wine jug. Here is Polar, half and half seltzer, and some other half thing. Here is an empty juice bottle. Here is seltzer water. Here is paper towels. Here is knife set. Here is a crock pot. Here is a boombox. Here is glasses. Here is protein shake mix. Here is the refrigerator. Here is buttermilk. Here is half and half. Here is mustard. Here is roasted garlic, tomato sauce. Here is more tomato sauce. No, that's salsa. Sorry, here is salsa. Here is imported Parmesan cheese. Here is Smooth Teddy peanut butter, which belongs to my sister, I believe. Yes, that's her name. Here is mayonnaise. Here is mild banana peppers. Here is diced boneless ham. Okay. Here is cream cheese. Here is real cheese, hopefully. Shredded real cheese. Here is, oh, there's where the Italian sandwich meats are. Here's the various Italian sandwich meats. Here is the hummus. Oh, that's guacamole, my bad. By the same company who makes hummus, though. Here is the hummus. Here is, I believe that's either chicken salad or tuna salad. Here is various diced fruits and such. Here is premium bacon. Here is Greek yogurt. Here is more Greek yogurt. Here is getting up. Sub hoagie dressing. Here is Frank's Red Hot. Here is lime juice, real lime juice. Here is even more hot pepper sauce by Grace. Here is various other salad dressings and such. Here is reduced fat milk with a green cap. He has potatoes and onions and squash and other such vegetables. Here is other various vitamins and stuff that my mom has. Here is a laundry basket. Here is a kitty sleeping, where she should be awake. Ah, there she is. Hello. She is sleeping, and I suggest someone will cut up, which I don't care because she's a lazy butt who sleeps inside all day. But I love her. Here's an exercise ball. Here's a trampoline that is no longer in use for right now. Oop, almost died, eh? That's me almost dying. And I knocked over something over. I gotta pick this up a second. Okay, there we go. Here is a little motorcycle thing that my little sister has. Here's a broken Guitar Hero guitar for the PS2. Here is a PlayStation Move gun thingy. Here's a little go-kart for my sister. There's a tripod that I don't use at all. Here is an exercise mat, I think. Here is puzzles and stuff in my newspaper out. Here is various foods and drinks that my mom has in this room. Here is other bags of stuff that she used for exercising and stuff, I believe. There's another kid. There's a kitty again. Here is the outside. This is a chair. Still inside, but that's a chair from the outside. That is a cooler upside down for some odd reason with a broken hinge. There's the grill. There's a flour bucket. There's a H2O bottle out there. We're going to unlock it. This is the handle for unlocking and putting it back in position. Closing the handle. This is the other handle. This is the other handle. And this is the grill. This is the plant, which has not grown in however many years. This is another plant. This is a watering bucket, I guess. Can't remember the name of that. This is another plant that just got knocked over. This is our wood for our wood stove. I really don't want to fall down these stairs right here. This is yard waste only. Yard waste only. Bucket, pail, whatever. This is a fern plant which always grows back every single year. This is a door opening. This is our recycling stuff. Yeah. This is other various buckets and wood that we never use. That's an old broken vacuum cleaner. This is a broken boom box that we have. That's a stupid little baseball hat. This is, I don't know what that is, that black thing right there. This is a window. This is another window. This is our red house that we live in. And why is this out of here? I don't know. But be a good person and pick this up, put it in here. And this is also a Verizon top-ish thing that we got to cover the wood when it rains and stuff. There's a pile of, I guess, other wood stuff. There's a slide and other play area that we had when we were kids. Here is another pile of wood. I don't know how. This is the piece of wood that looks like a piece of steak, and this is the underneath of our stuff with porch with various buckets and such under here. There's a bike over there with the fence, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like what you see, then subscribe to my videos or just watch this and whatever. Bye.